Welcome back, Pokemon trainers from around the globe. I myself am Kostalai Dimos, and I am joined by the lovely Jamie Voigt, and we are here for the 2023 Pokemon Regional Championships of Liverpool Round 8. We are at the penultimate round, Jamie. A lot of hype, a lot of pressure, and a lot of tears for quite a few trainers going into this, and we've been able to be witness to amazing stream matches today.
These have been very, very strong matches
Honestly.
coming out that we have seen. It's been fantastic to watch.
Yep.
It's going to continue to be fantastic to watch going forward as well.
Yep.
And yeah, now we're getting into the very end of this Day 1 Swiss. We are starting to know which players are starting to be guaranteed to be in the Day 2 tomorrow, and
Yep.
then we're starting to get to the point where it's the win and ins.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to get to that one more win to be able to secure that either CP or even just into that top cut as well?
Exactly, and I think it's going to be a lot of tough sort of stages going on to here. I think decisions are at a high. I think the pressure is very, very heavy at the moment, and I think what the trainers have to really do is sort of gain their bearings, make sure that they are quite cool and calm, and they go into the match knowing with that ultimate goal of tomorrow's top cut.
Yeah.
But talking about top cut, at the moment we do actually have some standings available, which we will be getting on the screen shortly to show a bit of what the current state is at the moment, what sort of records we have for the top 32 going in. And I think before we actually get that graphic going, of course, we are going to... Oh, actually, it has appeared. Apologies. we actually saw Feist appear in the previous round and win overwhelmingly in the situation where there were a lot of mind games going on, but he was able to master it out with that Lamora Dondozo Tatsugiri.
Yeah, so just one of only 4 players that are currently undefeated still.
Yeah.
We're going to go into that final round with the final 2, and then we will have to see who is going to be one of the 9-0s. It is going to be one of Feist, Kurtz, Julian, or Victor.
Yes.
So really, really good showings from all of them so far, as well as fantastic performances so far. Only 1 loss. That is still absolutely a great performance so far, and more than enough to guarantee you the day into the Day 2 if you only end up with that 1 loss. So very, very strong showings coming from those players as well.
Well, exactly. We don't only have European players, we do also have international players, namely that being, of course, Luca Paz, which we did see from the States earlier on during the stream, doing incredibly well, traveling all the way over to Europe, to Liverpool, to be able to compete at the highest of levels. But what we will, apologies, do is hop on to the other half of the top 32, so the placings between 16, 32, where we do still have X and 1s there as well, Jamie. Surprise, surprise.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's still very, very varied in the amount of countries that we have that are still performing significantly well. We've had classically, this country in Europe is one of the strongest. So many players are going to be coming out from this country, but it's just incredibly varied. So you can see multiple regions coming out. And as well, you've got some more internationals coming out there with Lung Pak Hei.
Yep.
That's going to be a very, very good showing as well. So Liverpool it seems to be the place from all over the world as well. Like, we've got plenty of Europeans performing very well, but this is international as well.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because we saw San Diego had a huge amount of attendance. Liverpool, of course, did follow suit, and I do have a very good feeling that the following upcoming regional events as well will do the exact same, because popularity has increased dramatically with the new immersion of the games, and I think everybody has been very excited. There's been a bit of a pause with the season, but they're saying, right, let's get straight into it. Let's get back into the competitive game of which we so love.
Yeah, and then speaking of getting into the competitive game that we love, we do have our round 8 coming up here. Again, 2 fantastic players that we are going to be featuring. It is going to be Francesco P versus Alex Soto.
Yeah, and I think both of these players definitely no strangers to not only the sort of higher caliber of players across the globe, especially in Europe, but definitely to our streams as well. I think they have a lot of accomplishments under the belts. I know that for a fact Alex Soto was a player that did have a lot more performances over the past couple of years as well. He's done incredibly well. He has gotten top cut for Worlds in London that did just pass us this summer, as well as a couple of top cuts over in Milan, as well as Bilbao. If we actually remember, we did stream him at some point too. And of course, we've got Francesco P, which actually, on the other hand, is one of those players that has emerged more from the online sort of grassroots community. He's done incredibly well. So being able to actually see him now on the forefront of a competition, especially in this regional, is something very, very exciting.
Yeah, and he was actually able to make the global finals of one of the Players' Cup. I can't remember exactly which one.
Yep.
But out of the four, there was at least one that he was able to make the global finals. So, yeah, definitely a very good performance in the online circuit. Now in the real-life circuit as well, performing very, very well. Very cool team coming out here as well. It's going to be one of those Dondozos, classically paired with the Tatsugiri. Going to be the stretchy form, going to get the speeds instead with the Resto Chesto as well. But this is going to be a very, very hard trick room from Alex.
It really will, and I think it's just going to be based around, for example, Alex Soto does have a situation for himself where he just wants to try to get his win con of Trick Room set up and maybe help with that Annihilate for any sort of other Pokemon that do naturally outspeed any sort of Trick Room setters on his side of the field. But what we will actually do is we're hopping into the game straight away, where we will have the leads, Indeedee female, as well as that Armarouge, quite notably by its side, against that Dondozo on the other hand as well. And apologies, I think that is a Tatsugiri, if I'm not mistaken.
You would assume by how small it is, and the fact that it can hide behind the Armarouge it would be, and the fact that it is jumping into the mouth of the Dondozo.
That is a fact.
Yes, it seems like we have two very classic leads coming out for both of these players in this Series 1. Indeedee and Armarouge, a very, very good pairing because of Armarouge being the only Pokemon with access to Expanding Force that absolutely loves to go for that in Psychic Terrain, and Indeedee being that Psychic Terrain setter in the format with the Psychic Surge, going to be a very good pairing. Near guarantees Trick Room. You can always go for Follow Me Trick Room, and that there is not too much that can stop it, no priority.
Yep.
The Tatsugiri and the Dondozo also very, very strong. The Dondozo is already going to be getting its boosts up and to be able to do a lot of damage to the opposing side of the field. There's no White Guard on this Armarouge, so if the Dondozo does want to go for an Earthquake, that would be doing significant damage, bypass the Follow Me. That kind of means you have to go for a Terror on your Armarouge defensively so that you can survive the Earthquake, and that is exactly what we're seeing here.
Exactly, and I think it makes a lot of sense because you just want to be able to go ahead and guarantee as much damage as possible, whilst of course retaining that Armarouge healthy and fit to go ahead and deal all of that damage. As we're going to be seeing the Earthquake coming out from the Dondozo, will be dealing good chip damage. I think that's more than chip damage onto the female Indeedee, but definitely chip damage on that Armarouge because of the typing change there. However, of course, we see the damage coming out from that Armarouge, dealing substantial amount of damage, even if those boosts are present on the Dondozo and Trick Room has been set up.
So it wasn't the Armarouge going for the Trick Room, it is the Indeedee instead. Of course, that does now have access to that move. They're going to be very, very good for it here. It didn't matter which one went for it. Armarouge is a bit stronger, and it's even stronger now that the Indeedee is going to be helping it out.
Yeah, Psychic coming out from that Armarouge. It actually picks up the KO, Jamie. My lord, it just goes to show why Psychic is actually a very viable choice of a move on this Armarouge. You wouldn't expect it. We do know for a fact that the Armarouge does actually have that Twisted Spoon item, which does further enhance the damage output of Psychic type moves.
Yeah, absolutely. It does have access to both Expanding Force and Psychic, but the fact that the Tatsugiri is technically still on the field, even though it's in the mouth of the Dondozo, means that Expanding Force is still doing spread damage.
Exactly.
And that will match Psychic, so you might as well go for a special defense drop.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be doing pretty much exactly the same amount of damage with the spreads. So, yeah, now that's going to be able to KO the Dondozo. You've still got 3 turns of Trick Room to be able to take care of the Tatsugiri that's not going to be liking to take any of the Psychic type attacks, and now that it's back on the field, you can very safely go for an Expanding Force instead of the Psychic, because it's not going to be able to avoid it anymore. So it's going to be doing some significant damage to both sides of the field. And
I would say it's quite a good position for Alex to just go ahead and sort of spam the Helping Hand as well as Expanding Force strategy and moves into Francesco's Pokemon. But we do know for a fact that that Arcanine does carry the Assault Vest, so there is a good chance that it will be able to survive this and maybe even get a Snarl coming off. You want to try to reduce the damage output of at least this Armarouge, but then again, there's just so much momentum coming out from Alex's side that might be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, this is absolutely what you want to be going when you're going for a hard Trick Room team. Launch off your powerful Expanding Forces here, absolutely KOing the Tatsugiri, and so much damage to the Arcanine. That Assault Vest very crucial in the fact that it was able to survive. That's still so much damage, and not even a Snarl, so your Armarouge is still going to be doing as much damage as it would have been doing previously. Indeedee was able to hang on from the Flare Blitz, so yeah, this is still an absolutely fantastic position for Alex.
It really is, and I think you've got, I think, probably 2 more turns left of Trick Room, and this situation Psych Terrain's on the field. I don't think Pawmot is going to be able to do much priority-wise with that fake out that it does notably carry. And this situation, this kind of feels like game over, if I'm honest. And I think we get the confirmation there.
It's absolutely game over. You're locking in the forfeit very, very quickly there. There was nothing that could be done in that situation. You click Expanding Force and Psychic on Alex's side of the field, and you get a double KO, and the match is over. So, yeah, that was incredibly quick. That was exactly what you're supposed to be doing with the hard Trick Rooms. You want to be just setting up the Trick Room and winning in just a few turns.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we saw there. There wasn't really any answer to that Expanding Force coming out from Francesco's side of the field. There is the Meowscarada that would be able to be immune to the Expanding Forces coming out. Golden Go would be able to resist it.
Yeah.
Both of them were left on the bench. There was nothing that resisted Psychic. Twisted Spoon, Psychic, and Expanding Force, that just plowed through the team.
Do you perhaps think that Francesco was anticipating more of a offensive sort of approach with Alex bringing that Annihilate, perhaps, and maybe going into the sort of play of maybe the double bluff? It's like, well, it's a bit more obvious for me to go for a hard Trick Room mode straight off the bat, turn one lead, and maybe Francesco thought a bit too into that sort of strategy where just thought, okay, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I want to be able to at least counter that sort of play with a Dondozo Tatsugiri surprise lead to take advantage of it. Maybe even outspeed it, but Annihilates, if they are choice stuff, which this one definitely does seem to be the case, they do tend to outspeed even max speed +2 Dondozo.
Yeah, but Dondozo has such high base HP. It's one of the few Pokemon in the format that is able to survive a Final Gambit from Annihilate. So even if you're able to outspeed and get the Final Gambit off, the Dondozo is almost certainly going to be outspeeding whatever the other Pokemon is. Whichever Pokemon wants to be setting up the Trick Room, you can go with the Armarouge, and then that would be able to go for the Terra to potentially survive the Wave Crash that could be coming out. But otherwise, it's going to be still quite awkward to stop the Trick Room, because as soon as you can defensively Terra with the Armarouge, or assumedly the Armarouge, the Hatterene would be pretty frail, so you want to be just guaranteeing you're getting Trick Room in that regard. Indeedee and Armarouge are the ones that be able to do it. That doesn't really seem to be a way to truly stop the Trick Room that could be coming up. The Psychic Terrain stops any priority, and then there's no real way of stopping even just a Follow Me Trick Room at this point.
So if you were Francesco at this point, Jamie, what do you think would be the best approach to try to shut down that strategy?
Yeah, I'm just looking through the team sheet. The Meowscarada is choice banded, so that may potentially be able to knock out the Indeedee in one shot. It does lose its Psychic Seed when it comes onto the field, so the knockoff isn't going to be as strong as it could be. That means that the Indeedee is probably even going to be able to survive that attack. So I don't think there's any real way of being able to deal with the Indeedee in one shot so that frees up the partner to be able to attack whatever is wanting to set Trick Room. Maybe the Indeedee itself wants to set Trick Room. That was the case in that first game. But yeah, I'm struggling to see a way of breaking through the lead of... Well, I was going to say the Indeedee ends the Armarouge, but apparently it's Annihilate here instead.
Very, very interesting change up there from both trainers' side. We do have Francesco going for that Arcanine as well as the Pawmot, and it's Intimidate actually going ahead and proccing that Annihilate's Defiant ability, which does decide to make an appearance in Game 2, as we do see female Indeedee go ahead, set up the Psych Terrain, which will block any sort of priority moves, such as Extreme Speed or Fake Out coming out from Francesco's side, but of course does have that Psychic Seed available, boosting its special defense by 1 stage.
This is a really, really nice switch up from Alex, actually, because the Arcanine, we know it's Assault Vest, can't protect. It's definitely going to be KO to a Final Gambit. That is a potential move you can go for. You go for it into the Pawmot, and does have the Focus Sash, so it would survive the Final Gambit. You go for it into the Arcanine slot, either Arcanine gets KO'd, or whatever would switch in is getting KO'd unless it's Dondozo. So you pretty much guarantee that you're getting Trick Room up with the Indeedee if you do go for that Final Gambit into Arcanine, because the Pawmot's not going to be strong enough. Double Shock will do some reasonable damage, Close Combat would do some reasonable damage, but not enough. So something's going to have to take this Final Gambit, and it seems that Francesco does not want it to be the Arcanine.
Oh, actually opting to bring that Tatsugiri in, maybe going to be subject to that Final Gambit, which we do get confirmation. It does come out, and of course it does pick up that KO. Like you mentioned, Jamie, I don't think this Pawmot can actually stop Trick Room, which is the most pivotal part of this strategy. Sure, you are going to be... Oh, no! Forgive me! We actually see a Revival Blessing. What a magnificent play coming out from Francesco. They're saying, you know what? Okay, sure. I will go ahead and allow this Tatsugiri to actually get KO'd to the Final Gambit. But wait! I'm going to actually revive it within the same turn to actually preserve its genius.
That is brilliant. That's definitely a way of potentially stalling out the Trick Room, because as soon as you lose one of your Pokemon to the Final Gambit, you have 3 Pokemon to stall out 4 turns of Trick Room. Now you still have all 4 Pokemon to try and stall out the turns of Trick Room. So, yeah, very, very nice play coming out from the Pawmot. Like we said, the double shock, all the close combat would not have been able to stop the Trick Room in any way. And then you've lost your Tatsugiri, and then you're just probably going to get swept in Trick Room. So this is definitely a way back for Francesco for sure. Very, very smart Revival Blessing, knowing that they were going to lose a Pokemon immediately, and now the Tatsugiri's back. It can just switch out, and at any point when the Dondozo joins the field again, it would be able to jump into its mouth. Maybe even the Pawmot switches out into the Dondozo this turn to be able to get the boost. It would be a little bit awkward because you're still switching in on the potential of the Expanding Force, but really, really nice play there coming out from Francesco. And now we just have to weather the storm of these Expanding Forces.
Well, exactly, and I think knowing the fact that this Pawmot does have Focus Sash, it can mean that Alex could have gone for, let's say, a double spread damage, maybe go for the Dazzling Gleam as well as the Expanding Force, but no, we're actually going to be seeing that female and DD being switched out, as it kind of gives us an insight to Alex's strategy, wanting to get that Torkoal on the field for maximum amount of Trick Room turns as possible, just to be able to deal that damage out. But we're actually going to be seeing Francesco go for the ever so smooth move that we have discussed multiple times, that Dondozo switch in, which automatically does make that slot of which the Tatsugiri was in vanish, although it can still be targeted into.
Yeah, so if it goes for an Expand Force like it is, the Armor Rouge is going for this, it does technically count as a spread type attack, and still going to do very respectable damage to the Dondozo. We saw that pretty much matched the Psychic previously, so going to be able to do about 40% to the Dondozo. The awkward thing here is there is no Protect coming out available on this Dondozo. It's going to be the Resto Chesto set instead. That means you click Eruption and Expanding Force, and Dondozo can do absolutely nothing about it. It can't even switch out to try and reposition. So that Dondozo is not looking in the greatest of positions here, because we saw how much the Expanding Force did. The Eruption's definitely going to do at least 20%.
Exactly, and I think we do know for a fact that the Terra type on that Dondozo is Dragon. This may be an opportunity that Francesco could try to go opt for that. However, he does not. And we're actually going to be seeing no Terra typing at all. Clear Smog coming out, being the choice of move from the Torkoal, does nullify all of the stat stages to 0, allowing this Armor Rouge to wreak havoc, going and picking up the KO, and allowing poor Tatsugiri left on its lonesome self on the field within Trick Room, as Arcanine does now switch in.
At least Arcanine's going to be able to take on the Torkoal somewhat. Really, really cool Clear Smog there. Eruption would have probably done it as well, but might as well go for that guaranteed KO. If you're unsure, it could have potentially, like you said, turned into the Dragon type. Maybe that is able to survive the Eruption and the Psychic that would have come out, so it would have been very close. But yeah, Clear Smog absolutely guaranteeing that. Now you still have a couple of turns of Trick Room left to be able to still go for an Eruption at this point. You can switch it up from the Clear Smog there, because it is going to be the Charcoal Torkoal, so you can switch up to the Eruption, you can go for the Expanding Force, and again, there's still not much to be done. Arcanine will probably survive. It's got that Assault Vest, it's still at full HP. It's going to be very close, but even if it does survive, Tatsugiri is definitely KO'd. Or if it switches out into the Pawmot, that is also definitely KO'd. So that slot on the left is going to be KO'd on Francesco's side of the field. If Eruption and Expanding Force were to be clicked, it's going to really come down to this Arcanine at this point. Yeah,
it really will. As talking about Arcanine, it does go onto the receiving end of that Earth Power and combination of Expanding Force. Is it enough? It is not. Going to show why Assault Vest is such a good item and paying dividends onto this Arcanine. However, how can it capitalize off of this survival is the question. It goes for that Snarl. It will be able to successfully connect onto both the Torkoal and the Armor Rouge, and of course bring those special attacks down to -1.
I think it's still just a little bit too late at this point. There's still one more turn of Trick Room. There is one more turn of Psychic Terrain as well. Therefore, the Pawmot cannot fake out to stall out the last turn of Trick Room. It's basically just going to be another Eruption. It's going to be another Expanding Force, and that would have been the game for Alex there. So, very, very nice showing for the hard Trick Room there. So, we haven't seen really many hard Trick Rooms at all going into these stream games, so a really, really nice showing there from Alex.
It really goes to show the power of Trick Room, right? If you honestly do not have a answer to it, and we most definitely saw Francesco, unfortunately, did not have much of a sort of play going up against this very negative matchup based on the team that they actually brought. Alex was just able to have multiple scenarios of being able to set Trick Room up and go for maximum damage output. I think having both spread available on Expanding Force and Torkoal, and then also have Psychic on that Armor Rouge as well, bolstering its damage output with the Twisted Spoon within Psychic Terrain. It's just so much power coming out from this Pokemon. So being able to just go ahead and see that sort of overwhelming power, I don't think Francesco had any chance because of the fact that the team was very hard to try to counter with their own.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Francesco still making the plays, like the Revival Blessing
Yeah.
turn 1.
Oh, that was
absolutely
amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But still not enough. Like that was, it seemed like the best that Francesco could do. And even still, there wasn't anything to get through that just onslaught of the spread moves, the expanding force, the eruptions that could be coming out from the Torkoal. So, yeah, there didn't really seem to be any true way of stopping that. So very, very nicely built from Alex to be able to counter with a very common team. Like the Dondozo paired with those Pokemon, very common Pokemon to pair with that. So countering it very, very well.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of the hard trick room teams that we've seen in the past where normally, notably, at the beginning of each meta, we do commonly see these sort of teams emerge. And we see them start to peter out a bit during the sort of mid-phase to them. But being able to see Alex pilot this team the way that he has incredibly has been amazing and sort of a pleasure to see because it just goes to show if you know your flowcharts, if you know your matchups, you will be able to do well unless there is one matchup that you honestly cannot do much about because you got to try to win the game as fast as possible whilst Trick Room is active. So that's why we were talking about the match before and we were saying, okay, this is a Trick Room a sort of matchup. This could either end in 5 turns or 10 turns if Trick Room's set up again.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dondozo was a bulky Pokemon with the Resto Chesto, so that has the potential to be a little bit of a longer game to be able to win.
Exactly.
But nope, it was dealt with very quickly with the onslaught of the, I guess, I was going to say Side Spam. I guess we can call that Side Spam.
We can.
I reckon that
it was.
So, yeah, that was a brilliant, brilliant showing for Alex. I'm going to be very interested to hear what he has to say from the winners interview that we are going to be cutting to very shortly, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned in a couple of minutes, of course, as we are going to be going ahead and prompting the interview. So apologies if you thought that was a bit of a freeze frame. We will be back shortly. Take care.
Hello and welcome back, Pokemon trainers. I'm joined by Alex Soto, the winner of that previous round, and going 7-1 and now into Top Cut as well. How are you feeling after winning that match?
I'm feeling so happy. I was 100% sure that I can do this Top Cut. I'm so comfortable now. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for that.
Yeah, as you should be. It's always a great achievement to be able to get into the Top Cut of any tournaments, and with a really cool team as well. A hard Trick Room team. We haven't seen too many hard Trick Rooms. What made you think that hard Trick Room was the call for this tournament?
I think hard Trick Room now is a great option because we have a lot of teams with Dondozo, a lot of teams with Talonflame, with Pelipper, Tailwind, and I think the people is prepare the matchup against those teams, but it seems that hard Trick Room, like my team, it's so forgotten, you know?
Yeah, I think I agree.
In my case, I think my team did it so good because the people, I noticed they are not prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think we could see that in that match as well.
Yeah.
Like we were struggling to find how Francesco could actually counter what you were going for, and it seemed like there was very little that he could do. Yeah. So it did seem like a very good call into going into this tournament, as is shown by your record as well. So yeah, like going into all the rounds, like have they all been that quick? Because that was got to be the quickest game that we've had on stream all day.
Yeah, that was so quick. My last games in the tournament are so quick too because I play against some Dondozos. The meaning of my sheet is because I do so great against Dondozo. That's it. And
that is a cool shot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We have to prepare this matchup because if not, we can lose in the first rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, now you got that 7-1 record. So assumingly going for that 8-1 record as well, but you have secured that Top Cut for day 2. How are you feeling going into the Top Cut tomorrow?
I think I can do it great. The bad is that people now knows what my team are, but this format is open team sheet, and I think it's not really important that other people know what I bring to this tournament. But if the people are not prepared like today, I think I can win tomorrow.
And like, good luck for tomorrow as well. It's going to be interesting to see how you do, because like you said, maybe people are just not prepared for hard Trick Room in the slightest. So we'll have to see if that is going to be the case. Just before we conclude this interview, is there anyone you want to give a final shout out to?
Sorry?
Do you want to thank anyone for
Yeah.
any of your team building or any of your practice?
Yeah, we thank Chuso Montero, that is a YouTuber that I was training with that, and that too, it's another YouTuber, another person that I was training with that, and Mikel Nicolau and my girlfriend Ariadna.
Yeah, excellent.
All
Good
the people.
Good to hear. So, yes, good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you
well
so
done
much.
on a great run and potentially one more game as well going forward. So, yeah, very, very good showing and congratulations. We will now be cutting to a short break and we'll be right back with the final round of the Pokemon Liverpool Regional. So, stay tuned.